Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, you are here right now with the curator of Black 31 magazine, and right now we are here today with a very, very special guest, right? See, this brother right here is heavily, deeply involved in education, and we all know that education is important. So in this interview, we're going to get into all the great things about Genesis Works. We're going to get into the great, amazing things about education, the circulation of education, and just how important education is. So without further ado, can we please give it up for Mr. Byron Garrett? Let's go.
Thank you. Glad to be here with you today.
Absolutely, brother, absolutely. First and foremost, right, I just want to know personally, what does education mean to you?
So education means to me a passport from whatever situation you're in to the next landing pad that you're trying to reach. So whether you're in the hood or whether you're in a good community, whether you're in a single parent environment, whether you're in the foster care system or whether you're in a two-parent household, education is the most guaranteed way to transition from one station in life to the next. So that's what it means to me. Everything. Amazing, brother, amazing. And just to dive right into it, right? Genesis Works. Works. Let us know, how did the foundation start? How did you create Genesis Works? So Genesis Works is approaching 25 years old. Will be 25 years as of next year, 2027. Founded out of Houston, Texas by a great gentleman by the name of Raphael, or Rafa as we called him,
yes,
who had this simple idea of how do we connect young people with adults so that they can get an internship and be put on a pathway for career success. And that single idea now spans not only Houston, where it started, but 8 other markets across the United States.
Yes, that's amazing. And you guys were founded in 2002.
Yeah.
Right. And now I heard that you guys are, is it now? But I heard that you guys are serving over 14,000 students?
That's right. No, collectively we've served over 14,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you think about, we have New York City, we have DC that we call the National Capital Region.
Yes.
We're in Jacksonville, Florida. We're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yes. Chicago, the Twin Cities, better known as Minneapolis and St. Paul. We're also out in the Bay. And so we have a great collection of staff that support young people across the country, yes, to really put them on a pathway to be highly successful.
Yes, absolutely. And you guys also provide workplace development?
We do. So essentially, our motto is we recruit students in the spring semester of their junior year. We put them through an intensive 8-week summer training program, and then we match them with a corporate partner or organization where they'll do an internship their entire senior year of school. So half of the day they're on campus going to school, and the second half of the day they go to work, which is an actual paid internship. And you do somewhere between 700 or 800 hours a year, depending on what market you're in and what company you're working for.
Absolutely. Now, what is one thing that students really need to know when it comes to education?
Well, that's complicated. Being a former K school principal, I'd say there's more than one thing you need to know. But I think in this day and age, what's most important for high school students is to understand that they have access and opportunity abounds. You just got to prepare yourself and be in position and do the research to get ready for what is next for you in life. We all believe there's a shortcut to success or a shortcut to greatness. The reality is success does not happen overnight. It happens over time.
Absolutely. And how challenging is it for a school principal? What are the major challenges that come with being a principal?
You know, in this day and age, as a principal, you're competing with a number of factors. You got to deal with your staff. You got to deal with students. You got to deal with the issues that arise. Perhaps you had an incident on campus. Perhaps something broke, the heat is not working. As a principal, you're dealing with a multitude of issues, but the single most important factor is creating an environment that is conducive for learning, that young people can matriculate so that they can graduate.
Yes. And can you tell us, what is the connection between economics and education?
Oh, it's really simple. The more you learn, the more you earn. The more you know, the more you grow. And so I always tell people, whether you're in elementary school, middle, or higher, going to college, the more education you have, the more credentials you achieve, the more certifications, you're going to put yourself in a position to earn more money. And so if you want to make the most, then you try to figure out how much education is necessary. I'm not saying you have to go to college, but I will tell you that the data still shows us that you have a greater likelihood of graduating from college, making more than someone who just has a diploma, which makes more than someone who just has a GED. So the more you learn, the more you earn, and the more you know, the more you grow.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Now, personally, why did you decide to dive into helping young students make it to college?
You know, for me, education is the passport. It's the best gateway. And this mission is personal, not only because I help raise my nephews and I've been a principal, so I've seen students go from what I call losing lane to luxury avenue, meaning they started in the project or in the barrio or the hood. They got what they needed to get education-wise and moved on to do great things. But the reason I still do this work and I'm committed to it is because we know for a fact that when you take a young person who has an amazing skill set and connect them with a caring adult, they'll be highly successful and they can exceed the expectation, not just meet it, but exceed it. And the other thing I'll say is this whole workplace space, I'm thankful. I was also a high school intern, so I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in business, but that first internship at a program called Junior Achievement, then I went back as a college intern. It helped shape my mindset around what does it mean to go to work? What does it mean to badge in? What does it mean to call? Even though you might be late or you're not coming, you can't just skip. You've got to call. Otherwise, it's a no call, no show. Yes. Those simple things that you don't learn in school. For school, you late. They're like, okay, you're late. You got a tardy. At work, no, you're missing some money. You might not be able to pay your light bill because you're a few hours short. Yes. So those things make a fundamental difference.
Yes. Wow, that is very beautiful. That is very beautiful. I got a quick question to ask. What do you love most about yourself?
What I love most about myself?
Yes.
It's probably my drive and my ambition to improve the human condition. People often ask me like if I had a mission statement or a goal, and that's it. And so I love connecting with people. I love helping folks move in the right direction. I love helping people understand where they are and truly believe and become who they really can be. All the time, I have to remind folks, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And I want to show people that it's possible to achieve, not just because I said so or you read it, but because if the mind can conceive it and the heart can conceive it, then the hands can achieve it. It all begins in the mind.
Absolutely. I believe that also. What advice do you have for the young student that feels that college is a scam or it's not worth it?
Well, I'll tell you, college is not a scam. There are people that have different perspectives. Depending upon what you want to do will determine how much education you need, whether you need a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, or whether you need a certification or some type of credential. But what I've learned throughout my life, and I can only speak from my personal experience and those that I know that I've also imparted the same advice, college is not a scam. Just like getting a high school diploma, it is a point of entry. Getting a college degree is a point of entry to move to the next level. And so we borrow money on our credit card to buy new shoes, to get a prom outfit. Even if you had to borrow money to go to college, it is the one time I've seen that you're going to see a return on that investment, that you're going to find yourself in a better place salary-wise than somebody else who doesn't have access to the same education that you do.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, that's some amazing stuff we learning right now. So just to take some steps back, right?
Sure.
Just to dive back into Genesis Works, right? What were I know I spoke about challenges, but what were some of those tough challenges when you first started Genesis Works? What was that main tough challenge that you had to overcome?
So I would say when Raphael founded the organization, I think no one was thinking at the time around how do you help a young person connect to a corporation, but he had the foresight and the vision to say, if I can just give this young person this opportunity, and then trying to convince a corporation to take on a 17 or 18-year-old as an intern and think that they can do meaningful work, we still have that same struggle today. Now, granted, our corporations are amazing. We've got young people at Okta and Land O'Lakes and Target and Williams and Accenture, which are major corporations, and they do incredibly well. Yes. But it takes some time to convince a fully grown professional to understand that a 17-year-old can come to work, be business-oriented, and deliver to meet the business objectives. And I see that in every single one of our markets across the country. And that still remains our biggest challenge, convincing adults that just because a 17-year-old in your house might not be responsible enough, I know that our 17 and 18-year-olds at Genesis Works have the capacity to do amazing things. We've been doing it for 24 years and soon to be 25.
Wow, 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 wow. And just a little insight on, like, what is the model to getting a 17-year-old or 18-year-old to have enough encouragement or enough belief and self-awareness just to want to attack school?
I knew where you're headed, because we are told as adults, if we look at the news or listen to the podcast, that young people are apathetic, that they're hopeless, that they have no dreams and goals. And I'm sorry, I just don't find that to be true. I find young people who are eager, they're curious, they're inquisitive, they're innovative, but they need guidance and structure. And so therein lies the Genesis Works, where we help identify the young people who may not have a role model or may not have a career pathway or may not even know what FAFSA is to apply to college. And we partner them with our program staff who work them through the process. We do that great training in the summer so they can get professional skills and tech skills like AI and Power BI. And then we go through the process to match them with the company. And we still check on them and with their supervisor throughout the process. So I know for a fact, when you pair that young person and put them in the right situation and opportunity, they'll do amazing things. The biggest thing we tell people all the time is that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And we need more opportunities for young people in order for them to be successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, absolutely, definitely need opportunity.
Yeah.
So at that point, do you believe that opportunity becomes greater than talent?
Opportunity is not greater than talent. They both sit in the same space, because you can be the most talented individual, but if you have no platform, no space to showcase it, no space for people to identify it, you just still sit there with a great amount of talent. Opportunity can also be out there, which it is. It exists in multitude of places, but it has to work in regression. It has to find and create ways to connect with the person that has the skill set and the talent. That's why our organization is successful, because we understand what the business needs, and we then identify the talent. So we create a talent pipeline, a talent pool that company can find out, this is what I need that's innovative. And now I have this great 17, 18-year-old mindset, and we bring them together in this great program. And that's why we have the types of outcomes and successes we do. So I don't consider them to be an either or, that is either talent or opportunity. It's a yes and. It's yes talent and opportunity. Both are necessary in order for the organization to thrive and for the individual to have a space to thrive in.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Now I got a good one. How is artificial intelligence changing education?
You know, not a day goes by that I don't have conversations about AI, about artificial intelligence. And you can pick whatever platform, whether it's chat, whether it's the OpenAI forum, whether it's Gemini or Claude, whichever format you're thinking about. All of them have their own advantages. And the reality is, I can do more now in a quicker time frame because of AI enablement than I could have done if I were doing research on my own. I grew up in an era where you go to the library and you get a dictionary or encyclopedia, and you'd have to read and scan the pages, and you'd spend hours on hours getting the information. Then the internet came, and I could do a couple keyword searches, and eventually the dial-up would speed up fast enough and it would send me information. Then I could move into doing a chat. I could ask a question. And now artificial intelligence is so sophisticated, I could ask 2 or 3 questions, and in a matter of seconds or milliseconds, it has produced an answer that it would have taken me 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 weeks to research. It is designed to be an enabler, to be an enablement tool to help you work smarter, not necessarily work harder.
Absolutely, absolutely. I believe AI is very beneficial. I believe it's very, very beneficial.
Yes.
Now, I always like to talk about the pros of things. Now, what do you feel as though are the cons of things when it comes to education, like AI?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes people think that there's a shortcut. I can use AI to help me get further ahead or to cheat on this assignment. And the reality is, it is only as good as your ability to ask the right question and to understand the information that you got back. I see people that do stuff all the time. They'll put in a search, they don't then read the work, and then they submit it, and then they don't realize in their answer that they've submitted to their educator or their professor is the original prompt. Also, questions that chat may be asking you back. And so you still have to be engaged. It does not give you a free pass and an automatic solution. It is designed to enable you, but it does not shortchange your ability as a human to be directly involved in the process. Somebody's got to ask the question, somebody's got to interpret the information, and you may even need to refine the answers to get a better outcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now Genesis works. Now you guys target the seniors because they are they're on their way to go to college. They're on their
That's right.
Okay.
Well, it's two components. So we target you in your junior year, and you have to be what we call on track to graduate.
Okay.
Because you can imagine if you're not on track to graduate, we can't be taking you from campus half a day to go to work.
That's true.
And so we target you during your junior year, go through the intensive summer training for 8 weeks, and then you're ready to enter your internship. And you'll spend half of the day on campus at school, and you spend the other half of the day at work. Now, some organizations, like any business would be, some are remote, some are hybrid, meaning sometimes the intern may actually work from a remote location like home. Some cases, they may go into the office 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week, they're working from a different location. It really depends on the corporate culture, because we don't want the student to feel singled out. We want our young professional to feel like they're part of the culture, and they then operate and show up the way any other professional would. We don't make an exception because you're 17 or 18. The expectation is you're still going to deliver in the business environment, and the corporations rally in support of that young professional because they too want them to be successful. And the other thing I'd say is we hear hands down how our young professionals, their insight and perspective change the culture and dynamic of every single team that they work on, because they're that type of contribution.
Wow. And I love it. And I love that you have so much morale when it comes to the students. Like it seems like you love the students and you care about them. So that's my next question. Why do you care so much about young students?
I care about helping young people because other people cared about me. I'm thankful. I have two parents, Franklin and Yvonne Garrett, still married to this day. So I grew up in a household. With both parents present. I have two older siblings, and that's great. But I also had a host of other adults that poured into my life. Mrs. Sisk, who made sure I did the right reading projects when I was in the elementary school. Mr. Armstrong was I was in science class, and I couldn't quite figure out how all this chemical stuff worked and almost burned down the lab. But I had caring adults that spent time outside of my family, outside of the church, to show me how I could be on a pathway for success. And even to this day, some of my greatest mentors in life are people that I met back when I was in high school and college. The Evelyn Taylors, the Stedman Grahams, who still pour into me. I don't make a single business decision without consulting what I call my personal advisory board. So I care because other people cared for me, and I believe we all have a responsibility to leave the world better than we found it, and I intentionally choose to do that in partnership with young people to make sure they're successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Miss Taylor and Mr. Graham.
That's right.
Absolutely. So I love it. Education, right? Education runs so deep. I feel like education is everywhere.
Yeah.
So when it comes to just educating, right? I think I want to take it back to like household education, right? Because I believe that even when it comes to schooling, it starts with the household education. So the connection, I just want you to answer that for us. The connection between household education and school education. How essential is that to be leveled for a student?
Yeah. Well, once upon a time, I was CEO of the National PTA, the Parent Teacher Association. Shout out to the 26,000 PTAs that exist around the world. Yes. I learned firsthand, both as a principal, but also in running the PTA, that family engagement is probably one of education's best kept secrets. The data clearly shows that when families are directly involved, that could be the parent, the mom, the dad, the auntie, the big brother, whoever has that guardian figure for that young person, the greater they're connected to what's happening on campus to help the young person be prepared, the greater likelihood they're going to be met with success. And so what I mean by that is you may not understand algebra, but you can still encourage John or Malcolm or Tanisha to focus on getting their algebra homework done. You can be an encourager even if you don't know the information. When I was raising my nephews and they were in high school, I'm like, I don't understand calculus. I don't remember what that is. But Brandon, I can help you find a tutor. I can explain to you that it's still important. Brandon being my oldest nephew. And so adults have a great role to play in the household around how we help young people prepare. People often say, your parent is your first teacher because they teach you how to walk. They teach you how to talk. Yes. They teach you how to hold a spoon. Absolutely. Learning begins then. And all of those things are building blocks for you to become highly successful. Yes. And then as you get older, you insert additional adults outside of the home to round out the educational experience for the young person. So you should not be at odds. You should be in partnership, working hand in hand on getting the best outcome for the young person in your household.
Wow. I like that. And I like how you put that too, working hand in hand. Because I believe that's what matters. I believe that's what's missing in society today. Yeah. Especially a lot of young kids' lives. Their parents are not active in their education. You got some parents that are active, right? But then you got some parents that just don't care, and you hear the kids say they don't care.
Yeah. Well, I think you see in this day and age, parents have a multitude of competing responsibilities. Not that they didn't before, but in this day and age, you can work fractionally 3 or 4 remote jobs at the same time, right? It's happening. So the world has changed in such a way that what parent engagement or family engagement looks like when I was growing up is very different than what it looks like now. But the key is to let the educator and the school staff know that you're reachable, you're accessible, and to let your child, your young adult know, listen, we're working together on this to help you. It is not pitting the teacher against the parent. That is not what we're doing. We're trying to figure out what is the best pathway. I often see the stories that blow up and go viral where, the mom or dad or the auntie, they're going to cuss the teacher out and do all of these things. It's like, that's great, but that child still needs to graduate, and you need them in partnership with the rest of the educators. Figure out a better solution to get the outcome that you need.
Yes.
I often have to tell people, I used to remind my parents when I was a principal, you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. You should see and hear twice as much as you ever say.
Yes.
And that goes in the same direction for educators. You should be listening to figure out, how do I support this parent or this adult in their journey to help this young person, because the more effective they are, the more effective I'm going to be on campus. And at the end of the day, we should all only be focused on the success of that student. How do we get them to the next level and across the stage with a cap and gown so they can move the tassel from one side to the other on graduation?
Absolutely. Now, and this is a huge one I got to ask, because how important is it for fathers to be active in children's education?
Listen, fatherhood is incredibly important in the educational process, or male involvement, even those. I don't want people to walk away thinking, well, my dad's not active in my life, therefore I'm not going to be successful. That is not the case. Yep. There are a whole host of men that can step up and show up in your life. Some of us call them coaches. Some of us call them band directors. Some of us call them the organists at church. Could be any number of folks that men get to step into the gap. But those who are biological fathers, you have a different responsibility because it is your biological child, and the rest of us step in the gap to help fill that out. My eldest brother was incarcerated most of my nephew's lives, so it took myself, my dad, my other brother, and other men to step in the lives of my nephews to ensure that they would be fully successful, that they didn't miss a beat. Now, did they miss their dad at times? I'm certain they did, but it was not because they had a lack of male engagement. And my sister-in-law never stood up and said, I'm trying to be the dad in this household. She was wise enough to realize there are things I can teach them, and there are things that other men in society can teach them so that they're not shortchanged in the process. And to this day, they're still highly successful, highly effective, and both of them are college graduates, and both of them have defied the statistics because people stood in the gap to offer the support that they needed, which is what young people need. That's why I love what we do at Genesis Works. We have caring adults on staff and in the school and in the work environment working in tandem for that young professional's success.
I love that. Young professionals. And when it comes to educating the youth, because this whole interview is about education, how important is it for them to know the difference between, I'm not even gonna say the difference, but how important is it for these young children to know professionalism?
You know, professional skills, I don't want to say they're a dying art, but they're not taught the same way they were historically. So teaching people respect and how do you answer to someone? How do you ask full questions? How do you not get upset and just fly off and use a bunch of expletives in the work environment? That doesn't work in this day and age. That's cute if you're online and social media. You might be texting that to a friend and you do a bunch of characters. In the work environment, as you're beginning to progress and mature, you've got to think and act differently. And so we want you to be highly effective and successful. And so young people in this day and age have to accept the role that they have. That I don't know everything. I may know a lot, but I don't know everything. Yes. And I need someone to refine my skill set and my ability so that I know how to show up and go to work. So I know how to be successful. So I understand why I need to have my shirt tucked in. I understand why I need to give you eye contact and shake your hand with a firm shake. Yes. Those professional skills are equally important as anything else you think you've learned up until this point. And the other thing I'll say is, if you are early, you are on time. If you're on time, you are late. And if you're late, you're left. This particular demographic in this day and age, they believe they get to show up casually and late, like a celebrity coming into an appearance show. Mm-hmm. This is a show. It is your life, and you need to master it before you take the liberties that you have not earned as of yet. So I would encourage you, the professional skill set that needs to be developed will not only help prepare you for the next stage in life, but it will sustain you for anything you're doing in the future.
Wow. The correlation between business and education. I know they both run hand in hand nowadays.
Yeah.
And I see that you turn education into a business.
Yeah.
Right. And like when I see education and business, I feel like business that staple, education is that staple. Now, when you bring both of those together, what do you get?
Well, the reality is we have to remember education is a business.
Yes.
Whether it's nonprofit, for-profit, or a government entity,
yes,
it operates as a business.
Yes.
It may not have a profit or loss. It may not have stock symbols attached to it and investor gains at the end of the year, but the gains are measured differently. And so business is about winning and losing. And so how you win in the education system, you look at it like a business, the same way you look and see who's winning the game. You have to look at it very differently. But when you marry both of those together, the stronger you're going to be highly effective and successful. And what I mean by that is I need a banking class to understand how to get financial operations set up for my business. I need to understand that I can't just say what I want to, that there are human resources rules that I've got to follow when I go into the work environment, that I just can't call you anything and get away with it. And so education has such a broad impact on how you move about the world of business. But I don't want people to ever think that they are not related, that they're separate. They're not cousins. They're actually in the same marriage. It takes an educated individual, and I don't mean formal education necessarily, but it takes an educated individual to understand how do I navigate these spaces and places to be successful.
Absolutely. Wow, education. It's so much to learn about when it comes to education. So to dive back into more of just, a few more questions about Genesis Works.
Sure.
Right? When it comes to Genesis Works, are you guys making sure that every last student make it to college?
Yeah, so you'll find out nationally we are above the national average.
Yeah.
Literally 90% of our students go on to college.
Yes.
So their college acceptance rate is high.
Yes.
We also focus on their persistence, so their ability to finish. Now, I will tell you, not every student is going to finish in 4 years. They may finish in 6 or 8, depending upon life circumstances.
Yes.
But our job is to prepare them, to make sure that they understand what pathways and opportunities exist. It's not for us to pre-design or pre-select for them, you got to study this, you got to study that. No, we want to give them a broad set of skills, let them understand what the universe looks like, and prepare them to walk in any of those doors if you choose to. Great example, I was in Chicago at our program graduation a couple weeks ago, met this young man by the name of Brian. He was finishing his internship on that Thursday, I believe it was. His high school graduation was that Saturday. He's been accepted to colleges, but he's decided to go directly to work. So he was starting to work the following week, making about $70,000 a year, not to put his business out there, but that's significant. Because I know many young people, they'll be making more money than their parents make, because that's how this program works to really prepare people to be successful. And in his case, Once he becomes a full-time employee and he's worked there 6 months, he'll then get employee benefits that help pay him for him to go to school. And so we're huge supporters and proponents of going on to college, but we're also realists in knowing that college may not be for everyone right after graduation, but it will be for our students at some point in time.
Wow, that's amazing. And why does the motto of Genesis Works work?
It works because we've got caring and committed staff on the program side who work hand in hand to train and equip these young people to navigate the business environment. And we have great corporate partners on the mentor supervisor side who understand the young person that is coming to work in their environment. And so we work in tandem, in concert, hand in hand, hand in glove to ensure that young person is going to be successful. And that's why our motto works. The summer training program, I mean, to give up 8 weeks in the summer, I don't know if who else would be willing to do it, but our young professionals are motivated. They're willing to give up their 8 weeks. They're not trying to go to the park and hang out every weekend. They are so focused because they understand what's at stake for their future and for their career. And so we know that the summer program, the caring staff, and our approach to preparing young people to be successful, and I will say completing the internship gives them such a leap ahead others in high school and in college because they now have true work experience on their resume. It's a game changer, but more importantly, it's a life changer for our young professionals.
Yes, absolutely. Now I want to talk about a little bit more education. I want to talk about fashion education. Fashion education, because I see you know, that shirt is fly. That's a fly shirt.
Well, thank you. A little Valdezio collection where we tell people it's not clothing, it's art.
Absolutely. And art, and you know what? Art is education too.
It is.
And so when you mix it with fashion, now I just wanted to know. I noticed you said that you did a fashion show. So let us know about the fashion show.
Yeah. So we've got a new lifestyle brand that just launched back at the beginning of June called Happy Frenzy. I believe in the world right now we deal with so much chaos, confusion, misinformation, disinformation, that I wanted to put something that whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, older, younger, physically able or not, that you could rally around. When people see emojis, they see bright colors, they see smiles, it makes people light up in general. And so we created a brand new brand. So we've got watches and clothing and gear, and that built on my previous brand, the Valdezio collection, which is what I'm wearing right now. But the whole intention of Happy Frenzy is to create a continuous state of contagious happiness so that we all can move forward in a level of positivity and gratitude.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we spoke about education, we spoke about economics, but just to dive back into business. Now,
Sure.
Genesis Works has raised over $40 million in revenue.
That's right. Yeah.
And when I think of that's exceptional.
Yeah.
So,
And the majority of those dollars are going back into the pockets of students, right? And so our business model is really simple.
yes.
We recruit the student, they're a Genesis Work employee, we find the corporate or organizational placement for them. That organization pays a fee for the service and talent that the young professional will spend at work, and then they cover some administrative costs. But I want people to know that our interns are paid just like any other employee. So they get an hourly pay, and they typically are doing somewhere between 15 to 22 hours per week, again, depending upon the role and what market they're in, or if there's a holiday that's come up or the business is closed, they may be less than, but on average, they're doing 20 hours a week. And so the paid model for us works. So when we talk about how much money we're raising, the key thing we should say is the majority of that money goes back into that young professional's pocket because we know that they have real needs that need to be met. Whether they're contributing to the household, whether they got to pay for prom, whether they're saving to go to college, maybe they're trying to save to buy a car. Could be any multitude of things. Our young professionals are so responsible that they're committed to earning the dollar because they know that it's going to further enhance their life. But the crazy thing is, every time I ask them in any market across the country, what is the most impactful portion of the program? None of them say it's the money. They don't discount it, but that's never been the leading answer. The leading answer is, by completing this program, I know that I'm going to be better positioned to be more successful, which means ultimately I'll probably make more money. And so to your point, all things tie back to dollars, but our young professionals are so focused on success they prioritize that over the money because they know it's going to be coming.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And just a few more questions. Why is it important for these young students to be involved in the internship?
You know, internship provides valuable experience. I know when I was going through my process in high school and college and did a number of internships throughout the summer and throughout the year, it made a fundamental difference because you think you understand how business works or what it looks like to be in the corporate tower because you saw some movie like Wolf of Wall Street or some other business movie, and it's not like that. It can be, but it really isn't. So this notion of getting into the office environment and really understanding what it means to be responsible, what it means to be a professional, and what it means to be 17, and I can actually contribute in a meaningful way in this work environment, that makes a huge difference. And so that's the value of the internship. It's those things that are not necessarily taught in the textbook. It's that lived experience that is gained by going to work Monday through Friday, by sitting down with peers who are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and trying to figure out, how do I navigate this environment with one single goal? Let me be successful so there will be another opportunity that's available for me, whether it's at this organization or another one to come.
Absolutely. And I know Genesis Works has reached a lot of goals. Now, I just want to ask this: what is the future goal for Genesis Works moving forward?
Well, you know, we're celebrating 25 years as of 2027, so next year. I'm not going to say we're going to be in 25 markets over the next 25 years. The reality is we probably can be more than that. And so our goal is really simple: to provide this unique opportunity to as many young people as possible in as many places across this particular country that we can make available. And so you'll hear us talk about expanding into new locations. You'll hear us talk about growing in the existing markets that we're in with one single goal, and that is to ensure that as many young professionals that want this opportunity, we can make it available to them regardless of where they're located.
That is amazing. That's amazing. Let's go. Absolutely. Where can the people find you?
So people can find us at genesisworks.org, and that's GENESYS, works with an S on the end.org. You can find me on social media, just Byron B. Garrett, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's Instagram or Facebook, BYRONVGARRETT. That's the best way to find me and keep in touch.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. See, listen, y'all, we just wrapped up one of the greatest interviews with brother Byron Garrett. Listen, he educated us on a lot of good things about education. He showed us the way. He even told us why you should even dive into Genesis Works, why you should even do the research, because Genesis Works is providing so much education and resources to many young youth. So listen, we appreciate brother Byron Garrett. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
And we would just like to say, before we wrap up, we are the platform of truth. We are the home of the champions, and we are the place where we uplift man, woman, and child. Peace and love, y'all. One. Marcus Garvey, Nat Turner, all the people who put in the